Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Transformation Tuesday. My God, what a change in the weather Sydney is having today. Yesterday it was smoking hot. Today it's really cool and feels like it's going to rain. So I hope your day has started well. Mine has, because I got a car park close, and that's always fantastic. Today I'm talking about someone with continuous hiccups, reflux, Barrett's esophagitis, and pre-diabetic. So for those who don't know me, I'm Anne Sinclair and I'm the digestive detective. So today I'm talking about a lovely guy named Gary. He's 62, a really very successful man. Runs his own really large, successful property development company. I'm having brainwave today. So Gary is a very outgoing, successful man, and and the reason he came to see me was because he had continuous bouts of hiccuping. So every day. So he would start hiccuping first thing in the morning, and he would continue until he went to bed. So you can see they're not the regular old hiccups that, you know, most of us would get. So to stop him from hiccuping at the end of the day, he would physically have to vomit, and then they would start again over the next day. So it's a pretty devastating condition, actually, because imagine how uncomfortable you feel when you have hiccups. Imagine having this for the entire day. So after hearing Gary's story, it was pretty clear that something was going on for him. He had seen many doctors, lots of specialists telling him that he would just have to live with these hiccups. To me, that was pretty unacceptable, because I could see how much discomfort this really caused him. So that wasn't going to be an option for us. So for me, it wasn't the hiccups that were troublesome, although they were really clearly they were troublesome for Gary, because I knew that we could make a difference to them. So for me, it was the chronic vomiting at the end of the day to help him get rid of these hiccups that were problematic for me. So he'd also been diagnosed with Barrett's esophagus, or esophagitis. So now Barrett's is where the lining of the esophagus changes to become more like the lining of the small intestine. So it can, a consequence of that can be 1% of the people who have Barrett's can go on to get a very rare form of adenocarcinoma cancer. Gary also had a hiatus hernia, which means his stomach is not where it's supposed to be. It normally comes up through the lining, which will go on to cause reflux and some discomfort often. So this could be part of the reason for his hiccups. So after we received his bloods back, I'd sent him off to the doctors, and he was diagnosed as a pre-diabetic. So he was already on, the first day he came to see me, he was already on about 8 or 9 medications, and which were all working against each other too, which was pretty unfortunate. So I did what I normally do, sent Gary away with the mood, food and poo chart. Sent him off to get a couple of bloods that hadn't been done for a while, like his fasting blood sugar, his cholesterol, his vitamin D, those sorts of things. On the initial appointment, I was concerned about his hiccups and that continual vomiting and the way his reflux started. So I started it off by teaching him about heel drops. So if you have hiatus hernia, there is nothing better than to start the day with heel drops, because it puts your stomach back to where it's supposed to be. It's a relatively easy procedure to do, and it's free. Bonus. So I also gave him 2 different lots of magnesium, because I gave him a celloid, which gets right into the tissue, and a magnesium and liver supplement, which works systemically. And so a lot of the medications he was on also contributed to nutritional deficiencies, such as magnesium, B12, folic acid, CoQ10. So we needed to improve this from the start. And I also give him herbs for his reflux. So navigating the herb interactions with the supplement, with the medication interactions wasn't an easy thing. One of the reasons I chose magnesium, though, was our whole digestive system is made up of smooth muscle. And when you're hiccuping, sorry about my strobing light, so one of the reasons when you get hiccups, your smooth muscle is spasming. So magnesium relaxes smooth muscle. So we wanted to see if that would work. So Gary's a workaholic, and he never took any time off. So he was going through a really stressful divorce, and he really liked the high life when it come to food. He was very successful, so with all good reasons. So lots of cheese, lots of red wine, they were his favorites. And that all played into what was happening for him. So at his follow-up appointments, the hiccups, surprisingly, we had managed to get down to just they would come in the morning, he would take the magnesium and they would go away. So that was a win. So he wouldn't hiccup all day and they weren't anywhere near as violent. So the vomiting had stopped overnight time. His reflux had also improved, but there was still, when he ate some foods, it was still problematic. So then what did we do next was to reduce his wine consumption and his cheese consumption by half. As a person who lives in the real world, to say to somebody who has wine and cheese every day, you can't have it anymore, that's a really harsh thing to do. So if we can cut it by half, then cut it by quarter, then cut it by quarter again, they're much more attainable lifestyle, practices to put in place. So we also increased his fruit and veg. Now, Gary was an excellent cook and he cooked meals for himself every night, so which was a saving grace for him. But a couple of the things he did, his meals were often really heavy with cream, pasta, and he loved cheese as well. He ate veggies, lots of veggies actually, but he rarely ate fruit. And he didn't spend a lot of time getting exercise. If he could fit some incidental exercise in throughout his walk during the day, he would. So what we did, we put together a workable food and exercise plan that Gary could even do if he was traveling. So I think we need to put in practices into place about having realistic exercises that we can do. And if that means walking from your house to the mailbox every day when you don't exercise at all, that's a win in my book. So, and it starts small and you see the benefits. So for the food, we really focus for him on fresh veg, vegetables, fruit, lentils, beans, some really good grains. We lowered his carbohydrates to help with his prediabetes. So he was eating lots of pasta, so we pulled that back a little bit. And with people with Barrett's syndrome are often deficient in folate. And leafy green vegetables have a lot of folate, so we stacked up on that, because even though he ate vegetables, he didn't eat super amounts of leafy greens, which can be problematic because we need all those variety of fruit and veg to get the right polyphenols and stuff to feed our gut bacteria. So by his next visit, his hiccups had reduced even more significantly. But he had a revelation in between this visit and the next, that when he got into a heated conversation with his ex-wife, that they would flare up. So that was a great learning for him. And I think last week I talked about the emotional components of dealing with your gut health and your digestive health. And so this was a time where he hadn't associated any of that to what was happening for him health-wise, so it was a really good understanding for him to work that out. So at this point, I worked at putting some bark flowers in his remedies. So these bark flowers work on an emotional level, and there is a different bark flower for different emotions. I've seen fantastic results with these things, so that was really fantastic. Gary and I worked together for about 9 months, and he had significant improvement in his reflux, and his hiccups were now very, very manageable. You know, he's still making headway on his diet today. He'd lost quite a bit of weight, and he was feeling so much better in himself. So you can see, and I've talked about this before, the emotional component in the health journey. We really need to address that to be able to move forward with some of the things. And it was good to see that he was open to that, because a lot of times, especially getting into our 60s, we're not so open to those sorts of things. So that was a great piece of learning for him in itself. So if you'd like some advice in what's going on for you, you can book in for a free 15-minute consultation through www.digestivedetective.com. I can give you a path where to go next, so you can see success in your journey. And everybody has a different journey, so working out where you are now and meeting you there, and then incrementally putting in the right steps for you, is absolutely the way to go. So join me on Monday for part 2 of prebiotics. Have a fabulous week. Eat, drink, and be healthy, and I'll see you soon. Have a great week, folks.